months, and your name is starting to really get out there. You're getting invited to do interviews, and I'm hearing the Mantaur name more in the last, say, 3 months than I've had in the last 5 years. And that's certainly not an insult towards you, Mike. I'm just trying to state the facts. I'm going to play a video right now of last Monday. Click this, and I want to understand why people's stories are so different. So I'm going to play this video right now, and then I'm going to ask you to discuss Kevin Nash's comments that what happened between you and Scott Hall. So,
were you now you would have gotten on your television the Sheik's product?
Yes,
Big Time Wrestling.
That was what I watched growing up,
and of course Sean Waltman's favorite wrestler, Pampero Firpo.
Mine was Moose Chodlak.
Any Moose Chodlak reference that you can whip out over the next few weeks would
it's just one of those things that's when people say, "Oh man, he's not a good worker." Fuck that, man. I didn't give a fuck. I just thought he was a big old dude that carried a moose head.
Exactly.
I didn't give a fuck.
Was that I saw a video? Was that him who couldn't get in the ring? I don't think that was him. Somebody couldn't get the gimmick through the ropes one time.
That might have been Mantaur.
You know what? It might have been. Now that you mention it, yeah.
Have you ever seen the fucking? They brought Mantaur in. He was the nicest guy on earth. And
who was Mantaur again?
I can't remember who it was.
Go ahead, talk. I'll look it up.
But anyway, so he takes that fucking the helmet off, the mask, whatever the fuck you want to call that.
Mm-hmm.
Takes his giant furry Shockmaster dome off, and he's standing there in front of Scott, and Scott just fucking, he hit him with an open hand about as hard as you can hit a person on TV. I fucking had to hold my dickhead in the back at the monitor. I thought I was going to piss myself. I was like, God damn, man. Like,
Mike Halleck was his name. It's not who I thought it was. Oh, David.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, this was, you and I talked about this the other day, and when I got home from taking my daughter to the doctor, the first thing I did was I pulled up this episode on Click This and was listening to Kevin Nash, and I listened to the whole episode. It was a great episode, great podcast, and I hope to be where them guys are at someday. I think I'm well on my way. But this was the nicest version of that I've ever heard come out of Kevin Nash's mouth. He was really cordial towards me. He was like, he's like, that Mantaur, he says, he was a really good guy too, a really nice guy, and was saying all these nice things about me. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Is he on some kind of fucking drugs again, or what's going on here? Because I heard him a couple years ago say, I remember, because somebody asked him a question about, have you ever seen somebody taking a liberty or cheap shot against somebody? And this fucking incident with me and Razor Ramon in the ring came right to the top of his head, and he was quick about it. He was like, one day I'm sitting in catering watching the monitor, and he said Scott's out there starting to wrestle with Mantaur, and he said they do a couple spots, and all of a sudden he says, I see Scott Hall open hand Mantaur slap him harder than I've ever seen somebody get slapped in my life. Knocked the fucking chiclets out of him, and really made Mantaur look stupid. And I'm thinking, brother, were you and me watching the same fucking clip? Because, he did try to slap the chiclets out of my mouth. I just shook my fucking head 2 or 3 times and charged him, picked him up, drove him in the corner, start beating the fucking shit out of him. And whether somebody takes a cheap shot like that or not is irrelevant. That just shows you the kind of character Scott Hall is. He just got, at that time, came out of fucking drug rehab for like the 117,000th time. And before he went into drug rehab, he dropped the belt to Double J. And I was his very first match out of drug rehab. And I was undefeated at the time. Had never lost, and this is probably 5 months into my Mantaur character, and I haven't lost. And he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, blah blah blah." I was like, "Okay, man, but what about what I want to do?" I was like, I'm undefeated here too, and I'm trying to make a name for myself. And if you're not gonna do my shit, I'm not gonna do your shit. So we can go out there and have a fight, or we can go out there and work with each other. And he was like, all right, man, we'll go out there and work with each other. Well, he threw that working shit right out the fucking window, the very first spot, man. And I mean, he slapped me fucking as hard as he could, bro. I mean, I almost seen stars, but I shook that shit off, man. And we got in a fucking fight in the ring. I remember Vince was watching it in the monitor in the back, and he was in the referee's earpiece. Tell them two fuckers that they're on national TV and save that shit for the back. And so we got back to work, man. And after that, we had a good match. I did what he wanted. He did what I wanted. So, he understood at that time that he wasn't going to fucking punk me out. He wasn't going to take advantage of me. And so, the first 2 or 3 times I've heard Kevin Nash tell this story, none of it was positive and in my favor. But when he told it the other day, he shed a whole different light on the subject. And I'm glad he finally told people what kind of person I was and what kind of person I am, because I am a really nice guy. I'll work with anybody, and so, I mean, I was, kind of humbled a little bit by what, Kevin Nash said the other day, but that's the first version of that story that I've ever heard him tell. So I was quite pleased.
Well, which is fine, but I think to myself, how does a guy's story change like that over the years? Is it just because the boys are just used to working people all the time? They can't keep up with their lies? I mean, what is it?
I was told a long time ago, man, you should always tell the truth because it's much easier to forget a lie than it is the truth. And I remember one time I got in a little legal trouble and I told my attorney to put me on the fucking stand. I wanted to testify. He said, "Oh, no, I'm not going to do that." I said, "Why?" I said, "Don't you want to hear the fucking truth? Don't you want to hear my story?" I said, nobody's going to fucking trump me up. I says, because if you're telling the truth, you ain't got nothing to hide. All you have is the truth. I don't have to worry about telling no lies because their version of the story is all fucking made up bullshit. I'm the only one here that's telling the truth. And when I got off the stand, he was like, "Mike, that was the best thing you ever did." And I was like, "I told you, bro, it's easy to forget lies, but it's easy to remember the truth."